Good afternoon. Good. You know, when I'm presenting in my company, I try to take the last spot. Because your job becomes easy. Now, how it becomes easy? Because the operation guy is going to talk about operation. He is going to talk about all the cost saving projects, so I don't have to talk about it in R&D. Now, marketing guy is going to talk about all the features of new product development, so I don't have to talk about it. Okay, and quality person is going to talk about what he has achieved in attaining the quality, so I don't have to breach. So now this is the same situation here. I have taken a position where Dr. Sridhar has presented about standard, Dishaji has explained brilliantly about all the standard requirements, so my job is cut easy now. So will leave me certain areas where which are pertinent, and I have a very difficult job to do by heart today. Okay, so first, as a chairperson of standard committee in WQIA, I have an obligation to brief about the new standards which are pertaining to the industry and which is going to affect our industry. I will not even talk about now 16240 and 14724 and on UF standard, which is already brilliantly covered by my previous speakers. So I do not need to repeat that. So I'll cut short on those slides, and I will, after that, I will cut down. But there is one QCO, which is going to affect us all, which is a recent QCO which has come on 302 IS 302, which is safety of household and household and similar electrical appliances. Now, this has come up recently, and the 302 generally talks about household and similar appliances, but the QCO talks about commercial, industrial, and everything, and residential. It is pertaining to that. So there is a mismatch in the standard and the QCO itself. First of all, okay, QCO covers everything. Okay, that all the type of safety of household, commercial, and similar electrical appliances are going to be covered by 302. That which means that we are going to be affected anyway by this standard. Okay, so it's a kind of a horizontal QCO which has come up, and QCO mandates compliance with IS 302 Part 1 of 2024. Applicability is all single phase appliances rated at 250 volts and less, and multi-phase with DC operated appliances rated. So practically everything is covered. Okay, there is no appliance which you can operate with electricity is not covered in 302 chapter 1. Okay, exemption, the only exemption is that if your product, what you are manufacturing, is already covered under a new QCO or a previous existing QCO, then you need not have a separate license for 302. Okay, so what does it mean to us? Okay, it means that QCO does not apply to RO appliances, because RO is under QCO with 16240, which already covers electrical safety under the guide. Please, sir.
QCO has a specific meaning, and your regulation is not under a QCO. QCO has a specific meaning, and legally your product is not under a QCO. Your product is under Ministry of Environment regulation. So to me, this QCO is defective, because it should have said, rather than say exempt from another QCO, it should have said if the product is regulated by another entity, another act. Yeah. It should say that.
Yeah,
not
it is said that.
It should not say QCO.
Yeah. It is said that under it is what it says is that if your product is already governed by another QCO, then you are exempted.
It should not say QCO. That's what I'm saying. It should not say QCO.
Right.
Because QCOs are only issued under BIS Act. So your product is regulated under Ministry of Environment, Environmental Protection Act. So what the QCO should say, actually, if that is the intent, that if the product is regulated under BIS Act or any other act, then you are exempt. Otherwise, you are not, to my mind. Absolutely. Legal. Please take
It's a very valid point. It's a very valid point. Actually, this does not crossed our minds, when we were discussing about it. But anyway, 162, since our products are already covered by QCO under 16240, this will not apply to our RO products.
Second, my question is purifier electrical appliance? There should be a definition of electrical appliance. It doesn't apply like that.
Sir, may I answer? Neeraj? Actually, I've been part of that committee who had actually made that standard, IS 302 Part 1. So when this standard was getting notified, the only sole objective was to curb the import. That was the sole objective. It was nothing to do with the Indian manufacturer and all. Now all the manufacturer went to them, like electric iron. We have already one particular IS 366 or IS 302 Part 2. There are other appliances, IS 4250 for mixer grinder. So then all the industry member went to the BIS as well as the DPIIT. Then it was a clarification that if your product is already under any other act or QCOs and all, and you are already marking a ISI thing, not even CRS also, like your charger, batteries and all, then you need not to worry, you continue with that. But it was kind of, you see, one is the communication through the documented information, and there was a clear understanding with even the Piyush Goyal on the last month, I think he had organized a industry consultation meeting. He simply clarified. So it was purely nothing to do with the domestic manufacturer. If somebody is having ISI or CRS, there is no need to worry. You need not to comply with this standard.
Yeah. So, which means that presently as it stands is that our UV and other technologies related water purifiers which uses electrical power, okay, which uses electrical power of any sort, whether AC or DC, have to be regulated by 302 chapter 1. And date of implementation are given in the QCO. For large enterprises it is March 19th 2026. It has been extended, it was there in and where industry represented, and in the last meeting honorable minister granted 6 months grace period, 1 year grace period for that, and now it is going to be applicable by March 26.
And that's important because normally these things, they go through extensions.
Yes.
So all extensions are over and this is the last.
This is the last one. So this is the last one. It has been ongoing for a long time, and we believe right now, but this is what the committee feels today. And we have consulted a lot of people also in BIS also. They also feel the same way, that this is going to be the last extension. Okay. So we have to get prepared ourselves for this QCO. So scheme of events remain the same, as Dishaji explained for the license earlier. So I do not want to repeat it. It's an audit-based submission of independent test report from the accredited lab, which has to be submitted, realization of the fee, and then visit of the licensee to audit the facility. And all the BIS licenses are given to the facilities, okay, facility which manufacture that product. It's not a product which is certified, it is a facility which gets certified, okay. Yeah, please, sir.
Let's be very clear, it is product certification. First thing, your product is being certified.
Correct.
It's another matter that I require you as BIS to have certain facilities in the factory. But it doesn't make it a process certification. It does not make it a facility certification. It remains a product certification. Please remember the distinction.
By
I can require you, if I wish, I can require you to implement 9001 in your factory as part of my product certification. It still remains product certification. It doesn't become management system certification. Please be clear on these distinctions.
Yes.
You mentioned that this is not applicable for the domestic water purifiers.
RO based, only one which is pertaining to 16240, because this is under another QCO.
Also very valid clarification that it's not to do with BIS, it's MOEF. So unless it is specified that BIS or any other statutory body. But I think either way it does not apply.
No, it is clarified. It was clarified.
It is already
That is
clarified.
clear that RO will not be covered.
Not just QCO, but other certifications also, as Vivek explained.
Yeah.
If it is covered under any of the other certifications, you are done.
Neeraj, one point here, just for understanding.
Please,
There is one biggest change in the ISI marking scheme, I think, which is not here. If you see any ISI scheme like 16240, we have one particular specification on which product is granted the license. If you are launching any product with that specification, you can continue to launch. In this particular scheme, government has clarified with the product manual that each and every model number should be part of that license.
Yes.
Correct. It is a big change. Again, the same region, if suppose one of the China manufacturer has that license, and if we want to introduce certain new models with the same license, with the same specification, it will not be applicable. It will not be done.
Correct.
So it means if you see any license of IS 302, this particular QCO, you will find all the model numbers are also mentioned along with the specification.
This is the first time which
So
is
you
happening.
cannot see that if I have a complete UV range, if I have a 30 odd product of UV range, all 30 will have a license,
Yes.
not a one product.
Not-
Okay.
Entity in China. Who is manufacturer? The primary manufacturer will given the license.
China manufacturer will not be granted any license. I'm absolutely clear. Mr. Piyush Goyal in the meeting, he himself clarified. So no need to even try.
So
But,
intent.
but technically, the answer is the facility will have to be certified. And as Mr. Jory explained, it's a product certification, so it's a combination.
Yes.
So product coming from that facility is certified. If the same product goes to some other facility, it will have to be recertified.
It's a, again, literally when you say your question, yes, the facility has to, the China facility has to be certified if they are making the product. Okay. But as he mentioned, the intent is to promote Make in India program, and therefore there's indirect trade barriers, okay, which are being created in terms of, quality, this bringing mandatory QCOs. But ultimately, it's, and that's what the minister also specified, specifically in that meeting openly.
Sir, I
Yeah.
have one addition.
Yeah,
to-
please, please.
So, for the manufacturers who are getting certified, like who want to import their product, for them we have a foreign manufacturers certification scheme. So the scheme for them is different.
Yeah.
For the domestic manufacturers,
Yes.
it is the process is different, and for the foreign it is different,
Yes.
and we have a separate department for it. So for the domestic, you have to contact the nearest branch office. However, for the foreign, you have to contact the foreign manufacturers FMCD department, which is in the BS headquarters.
Yes. No.
Sir, when the product is under QCO, it is mandatory for the manufacturer to get. Yeah. Yeah, so there is no barrier, sir. You can
No.
apply.
See,
no, not a problem.
there is a process, sir. There is a definite process which is there already in the BIS Act to do that. Okay. So the only exemption is the legacy stock that is being produced before the implementation date that can be sold for another 6 months. The units which are to be imported for R&D purpose, up to 200 units can be imported during that time. And exports, if you are into exports, all of the units only made for exports are exempted from this primary QCO. So this I will skip because already been explained. So this is under 162.142.724. We have from an industry perspective, WQIA has been a very active participant in the committee, and we have provided all the inputs which are required and all the support which are required to make this happen. And I'm very thankful to all the members who have contributed, from the industry to give all the valuable inputs to make this happen. So I'll just skip these slides. UF again, I will not talk about. Dishaji has already covered it. Again, we were the part of the committee in the drafting body also, and we have done all the needful and provided all the insights which have been gained from the industry to BIS in formulating the standard. Now 16240. Now this is the Holy Grail. Okay, this is the Holy Grail, and I'm going to come to this, and this is a very hard job that today I have to do. Okay, and the hard job is that this has been brought. Some nuances has been brought to committee notice, and this is the obligation of the standards committee to bring this nuances to all our members, what is happening on this front. And we have today the best panel that we can have in India pertaining to the standard. The standard chairman who was there, the committee FAD chairman who was there in the drafting is there. The current chairman is there. The convener of the committee is here. And we all are here who are bound by this QCO, and who have to see that their business interests are protected, and we are complying to this QCO. So, and the nuances is only from our industry only. Okay, so it's a hard job for me to do, but I'm as a standard chairperson of this committee, I have to do it. Okay. So what is important? Upholding IS 6240 is essential. It took 4 years of hard work to bring this standard together, and lot of deliberation and lot of I would say data crunching has happened. There are a lot of subcommittees which were created for each and every aspect of this standard. when we say that, you know, certain thing is required, there is a purpose for which it was required. And Pawanji, you can add to my discussion, and Dr. Sridhar, you can also add, you know, wherever you feel like, you know, it has been brought to the committee notice that there are two clear-cut cases which we felt, you know, in the committee are deviating from this particular standard, still operating under BIS license, okay, which has been brought to this, and this is affecting us all, you know, in the marketplace, okay. Now, action compromise, what does it do? It compromises, you know, both consumer trust as well as credibility of BIS certification. If there is a requirement, there is a requirement. We have to meet the requirement. We cannot circumvent that, because it ultimately, if one person is doing it and he's successful in doing that, then other people are motivated to do that. Okay, it creates a non-level playing field, you know, for the other compliant manufacturers. And this is the point of pain which has been brought to the committee notice, and that's why we are bringing this point today. Now, scenario one, let me give you some example. Okay, a manufacturer was found to use a needle valve for RO base, bypass blending. Upon failing the test under 16240, they introduced a non-return valve, and that too, non-return valve placed in the opposite direction, so that when you are bringing the sample to the lab, water will not pass through that bypass line. Okay, so whatever feed goes in, it will go through the membrane. It will not go through the bypass line. Okay, and during installation, that their technician is going to reverse the flow, reverse the valve direction. Okay, clear-cut deviation, clear-cut circumvention, clear-cut blatant circumvention of 16240 intent and the law by spirit and the soul of the standard. Okay. Now, effect set-up blocks bypass, as I explained, and the clause is very clear in that. The clause says if the system has a TDS control mechanism employing RO bypass blending, all testing will be done with TDS control valve in fully open position. And in parenthesis, it is written that maximum flow in the bypass line. You know, when we were drafting this standard, there was at least, I remember, 8 months of deliberation which happened in the subcommittee why this clause has to be there. Okay, and the reason for this was that the water, low TDS water, can have contamination. It's a proven fact, it's a published fact. You know, even if you have municipal water which is below 200 ppm TDS, it has lead contamination, because the lines which are transferring water are old, they are leaching. There is no, and this was deliberated by the highest to highest technical competent level committees, and this point was taken into consideration. Since it was a known practice in the industry to have a bypass line, we could not disallow a bypass line while making a standard. But a strong clause was put in the standard that if you have to check for bypass, contamination, reduction in contamination for whether it is heavy metals or microbiology, this valve has to completely be open, so that in every case, and in any case, in case the technician forgets to regulate this valve and it becomes open, or it malfunctions, or the system malfunctions, and the water starts flowing through the bypass line, consumer should not come at risk at any cost, because you are promising customer that you are going to deliver certain parameters for that particular product. You cannot deviate from that. Okay, and that was the whole purpose of bringing this clause. Okay, and this is for safeguarding the health of the consumer, and there's a promise that we make, and that's the whole intent of this standard, to ensure that promise is retained. Now, if somebody is doing this, and we are allowing, he's utilizing this bypass, BIS licensing to challenge other manufacturers, then it is I think, I would say it's the worst form of deviation. Now, this is what happens, So here you see in the RO pipe, if the system say raw water, it goes through the pump, and then there is an NRV which is placed here. Okay. Now the water cannot flow through the RO membrane, the bypass line. Okay. It has to flow through the RO system now. If in the normal condition itself, and when you are going at the customer place, you just reverse the direction of the NRV by just switching the NRV. NRV is placed here. Okay. The second case, a newer market entrant implemented a digital TDS sensing control mechanism linked to a mobile application. Based on the input of the water TDS, the system switches between and chooses the path between RO and UV or RO and a bypass. Okay. Now during BIS testing, the concern is that during BIS testing, this dynamic control mechanism was not kept in fully open position, fully RO bypass mode, and explicitly required by the standards. Control mechanism is not only valve. Valve is just a representation of the means that you want to regulate the bypass line. Okay, whether it is digital, whether it is done by electrical means, by physical means, it does not mean that valve is only physical valve. Valve means a control mechanism which is put in the bypass line, and therefore in the parenthesis it is clearly written, okay, that it will allow maximum flow through the bypass line. Okay. During BIS testing, dynamic control, but the testing happened with the software setting not aligned or allowing full bypass condition, thereby misleading results for generating. A clear-cut deviation from the intent of the standard. Now here is what happens. There are two solenoid valves, which control the flow through the membrane or the UF line or the UV line, bypass line, and you can switch over intelligently by building a logic based on TDS sensing. Okay, when you are testing, when you are doing a contamination test, you are building the TDS to 1500 ppm with the contaminant heavy metals for the testing requirements, and then it will never allow by TDS sensing to allow the pass through the bypass line, and all the water is going to flow through the membrane, and you will never see that contamination. Again, a clear-cut deviation from the intent of the standard. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Suppose if it is being tested in the lab,
Yeah.
they test it only for RO, not for UF.
Sir, it has to be tested for RO only.
Okay.
The only thing is that they have to open they have to create a situation where the bypass valve is fully open.
See, suppose if they find out, okay, just imagine a situation when it's being operated and TDS is found to be low, and they close RO bypass and they allow only water to flow through UF. That's what happens.
Correct.
But in such cases, they should even test for UF. RO should be anyway. This is only for RO.
No, 16240 does not talk about the post-treatment
but
at all.
what will happen now? Your UF standard is also coming.
Correct.
So they will say that we have tested against UF also, for which separate standard exists.
Sir, just one important point. It is not a question of a new standard.
Correct.
So if you see the sir, just one simple thing. If you see the test methodology which is given, because you have to choose the test methodology.
1 second. No, let me answer that. No. So your question is very valid. As far as 16240 is concerned, they will not look at UF or UV or anything. The only thing to be tested is whether the RO system is performing as per 16240, and it has got two very clear conditions. If there is a bypass, you should open it fully when you are checking for contamination. It should be fully closed if you are checking for recovery, because there are two conditions which have to be met. Now, the labs are new into this. They are going by the letter. There is a valve. They are seeing there is no valve, so that means everything is there. They are not in letter and spirit meeting the fully open condition of the bypass. That's not happening.
The intent of creating that condition was that in the worst case scenario we should not be bypassing any
But Neeraj ji, usme bhi nahi hoga. We have to understand the clause. What clause says? If you open also, suppose you are saying that it should be fully open condition. You fully open as well, but still, when you test at a particular methodology which is mentioned in the standard that you have to make a 1500 or maximum TDS declared by the bacteria, software will not allow that path to go on. So you are right, but spirit and all, but laboratory will test as per the thing which is written in the standard.
वैल्व का मतलब क्या है? वैल्व का मतलब ये नहीं है कि आप सॉफ्टवेयर से, आप वही मैं बोल रहा हूँ कि It is not
ओपन है, सॉफ्टवेयर ने ओपन भी कर दिया.
valve does not mean physical barrier only.
Okay, agree,
Okay,
agree.
it is intelligent barrier also.
Still, when you cross 1500 TDS water, this water will not go into that path.
So that's
आ रहा हूँ मैं इस पे, आ
that's
रहा
what
हूँ
it is.
आ रहा
That's
हूँ
the
मैं
whole point.
आ रहा हूँ आ रहा
That's the whole point.
हूँ hold on आ रहा हूँ.
I think lab should be really made aware of such bypasses. And since this will come, see, when we drafted, we never thought that it will be misused like this.
It is, sir, it is circumvention.
Yeah,
It is not
yeah,
misuse.
yeah, like circumvention.
Standard is very clear.
Yeah.
Standard is very clear, and I read 100 times
I
the
know.
standard after the.
Achha, Neeraj ji, there is another question on this. There's another question I read about it. We allow this particular filter, but the RO is coming with multiple filters now. So, when it is being tested by laboratory, will you only allow one type of filter which is mentioned as a component, or will you allow?
We are free to choose pre-treatment and post-treatment. So this is a system test. It is not RO membrane test.
So here you are now. Here you are.
Correct.
You told that now manufacturer is free to choose filter. So ultrafiltration, he also can claim to be another filter. Okay, but it should
pass through that.
RO.
100% it has to pass through that. It is not.
Just one reference. Since you mentioned software control, and Vivek, you also mentioned this. Take a reference from the Bureau of Energy Efficiency when they were doing the energy labeling.
Energy efficiency. Yes.
When air conditioners came in with the variable speed compressors, the inverter compressor as we call them, it has a variable speed.
Yeah.
Now you can regulate the speed to get a better efficiency.
Yes.
So it was the same case there also. So what they did, they actually foresaw this, and they make that standard. They say we will test at full capacity and we will test at half capacity.
Yes.
How do you test at half capacity? They mandated the manufacturers to give a button on your remote that once you press it in that logic, the machine will get set at half capacity. That means in this case, ideally, in ideal case, whether it's a mechanical valve or a software valve, if it's software valve, you have to have a provision where your software allows 100% opening of the bypass stream while you are testing.
Correct.
Sorry, I'll go back to my question.
Uh-huh.
See, suppose now your standard also will come in practice. And if they test and find that this particular unit, when they're bypassing only through UF and it's meeting the standard, will you allow it to be certified under both?
Sir, if you have a treatment, post-RO treatment train in the bypass line, which can take care of these contaminants, we should not have any objection.
No. But my question is that, see, suppose if you are bypassing only through UF, Neeraj ji, only you are just closing RO. In certain cases where they are using software, AIML, you're doing. In case if this your UF standard is now available, will you certify this product?
First thing is that if you have a RO membrane in your system, it has to comply to 16240. There's a mandatory requirement.
So I'm just going 6 months ahead, and this comes to the laboratory for certification of both for UF and RO now. So will it be certified under?
So in that case, the BIS has to give clarification. In that case, which standard will be applicable for that particular product.
Sir, UF system is a different product. RO system is a different product. Standalone. The UF standard is for the UF system. RO standard is for RO system. And in RO system, in additional components, we have mentioned that UF membrane can also be used. Right. So when we are like the certification for RO, we are certifying for RO. So as sir is mentioning that UF can be a component, but for that UF we do not need any certification because the whole system remains RO system, and UF is one of the component.
So I think the question is, at that time there was no UF standard. There was also no UV standard, which was mandatory. Now when these two standards become mandatory and a product has multiple technologies, what will happen at that time is the question. So maybe we can answer that later, but this is something which will come.
No, Suresh. I think there is still catch. अभी जो अनिल सर ने बताया कि MOF वाला, मैं बताऊं ये हिस्ट्री कहाँ से BIS मैंडेटरी का शुरू जो हुआ था. Let's go to that background. So whatever we are debating, so that we need to again go back to that stage. NGT has given directives
Yes.
If you remember the directive.
Yes, directive NGT is
that was
their
given
guiding lines.
For output, for IS 10500, even for testing of TDS meter, TDS, testing of pH, then what
Yes.
else was there? Something else was there. Then recovery, huh? Hardness, TDS, so many things were given, and that's why after fighting from NGT, we took the case to the Supreme. And from Supreme, they gave directive to MOEF. Okay? No, that's an MOEF and MOEF.
No, your point is well taken. I think in case of multiple technologies.
So-
But there are certain requirements that they have laid down. This is
Yeah, yeah. No, correct. So let's do. Correct. Yeah, yeah. So let's. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's do one thing. Let Dr. Neeraj
me
finish
complete
this.
and then we
Let's
will-
finish.
Ek minute,
There are a
hold
lot of
on,
questions. We are
we'll take it,
also
we'll take
one
it.
second, please.
Just
Sorry,
hold on,
one
hold
second. So we are also constrained for time. We are actually overrunning this. So let's finish this. We've also presentation from our sponsors that we cannot maybe delay.
Just give me 2 minutes.
Let's
Finish it. We'll hear from you.
We'll come back to
Okay,
that.
We'll hear
We'll come back.
Okay. So basically, both these cases are fundamental. Jeopardize the sanctity of 16240. Now, the issue is that the standard intend to ensure the consumer safety and product quality under worst case scenario. Okay, in the worst case scenario. Now, allowing circumvention definitely has its own demerits. If we don't do anything and if we continue this, the whole purpose of bringing it under QCO is jeopardized. Okay, and it definitely creates a non-level playing field because there are certain claims of taste which comes with bypass. Okay, which people are not able to do, which people have to invest to do. Now you have to have a mineralizer. You cannot just blend two waters. Okay, and to get that taste, you are incurring cost to do that. Therefore, other people who are maintaining the sanctity of 16240 are receiving it. Okay, and you will be able to claim more recovery because now you are able to blend. So instead of RO, you are able to claim more recovery without subjecting RO membrane to that level. Okay. Now, what is the recommendation from our side? Okay, the committee recommends this to BIS. Okay, so if the system has TDS control mechanism employing RO bypass blending, all testing will be done with TDS. This is the clause. Okay, this is a clause in this in both for heavy metal reduction as well as microbiological control. Both there is this clearly explicitly written separately, and this was also a discussion. Should we only mention once, or we should be very clear in mentioning each step? Okay?
Actually, while writing this was never assumed that this will not be considered to be covered.
Correct. Now, this applies to any manual, mechanical, electrical, software regulated TDS control mechanism via valve, NRV, sensor, app, or any other interface. This clarity should be given in that standard to supplement this clause. ठीक है sir? Cover कर लिया मैंने?
Yeah, that is okay, but still the testing methodology. That's
now
important.
Define mandatory disclosure by the manufacturer. Manufacturer must declare all the flow control related mechanisms, hardware and software during product submission. Thirdly, the manufacturer must give a declaration and a provision in the hardware, software, app to create a fully open bypass condition allowing compliance. We are no manufacturer. The concern should be there whether you use X technology, Y technology, whatever technology you create. But to maintain the sanctity of the software, you have to give a provision in the software to create a fully bypass open condition so that the laboratory who is certifying can test accordingly. Because in app controlled mechanisms, laboratory cannot change anything. They are blinded by the logic what you create in the software. Okay, and there is a manipulation, soft manipulation which happens because there is no guarantee that you are creating a 100% bypass situation. Okay. Now, BIS, what is there for the labs? BIS approved lab must strictly adhere to 16240 testing procedure, ensuring all TDS control mechanisms are tested in fully open, whether it is mechanical, electrical, software. It should be the prerogative because there is standard clearly defines it. The lab has to understand it. The lab should know that whether it is electrically controlled, mechanically controlled, logic controlled, I have to comply by this standard. But just going by a manufacturer's statement cannot pertain to that. Now, lab should not only be solely responsible, rely solely on the manufacturer declaration. A complete functional check of the hardware software mechanism must be a part of certification process, because systems are becoming intelligent. Now, so software content is increasing, so labs have to be also diligent, to do this test. And to BIS, regular audits and compliance checks should be conducted by BIS to uphold the credibility and integrity of the certification program. Otherwise, ma'am, the hard work, whole process, everything goes for a toss. Okay, nobody will have that belief in the system. Okay.
Neeraj, just add one line.
हाँ जी, sir.
Because when the testing
एक
will
मिनट
be
रुक जाओ, सर, एक मिनट रुक
conducted,
जाओ. मैंने उनको भी मना किया तो आपको भी रुक जाओ. Hold on. ठीक है ना? Let me close, then we will. हाँ, ठीक है? Closing note. As industry participants committed to consumer well-being, we rely on and request BIS to ensure that both the letter and the spirit of the standards are upheld and the compliance is assured before the granting the license to the manufacturer. Letter and spirit is required, ma'am. The standard is not just playing with words. Okay. Take suo motu actions against laboratories violating, omitting the provisions and requirements of the standard and compliancing testing. Take suo motu action against manufacturers violating the provisions of the after the grant of the license. Now, the first case was after the grant of the license, and even from industry there was a protest. In 3 days, the license was revoked by this solution. By 3 days, within 3 days after revocation of the license.
Restored.
3
days restored.
Correct. Imagine. The license was revoked based by the complaint. Okay. And in 3 days, after putting this solution of reverse mechanism, the license was revoked. Well, the license was again reinstated. Imagine the audacity in the system. Then how can BIS, be in that position to take that ground? That we are the controllers? We will be able to mandate these QCOs and putting unnecessary burden on the industry if we cannot maintain the sanctity of the standards. Now, so this closes my discussion on 16240. Okay.
So I think in paucity of time, thank you, Dr. Neeraj, very much.
Hold on. So these are another actions that we are taking. Okay. Hold on. So WQIA is working very actively in all the subcommittees in BIS, whether it is star rating of water for water purifier, water treatment component level testing, whether it is all the actions which are happening in FAD 14 and FAD 30. We are very active participants and helping BIS with all the necessary requirements and data and help from the industry.
Yeah, right. So thank you so much. But you stay here. There are a lot of questions and suggestions. We will take the suggestions separately, but in the fairness of the things, despite the time, I think there's one question which has come here. Yeah. We'll take that one last question, and we will then take after that. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks for this opportunity, because this is very interesting conversation which was happening. It started with initially when our chief guest was there. So it started with the conversation what our chief guest has been there for the water quality and intelligent systems and all. Then when doctor also saying about the smartness of the system and how we should test. So till now, though we are very new in this case, but just want to understand, because the industry sometimes had been bound by the technology prevalent of that time. When the technology is changing and helping you to achieve few things which you are not able to do it, should not be embarrassed. I'll clarify why. So when, let's say, for example, in the second case, he mentioned a system of a smart, where there's a RO system as well as there's a UV system with the UFOF, whatever is in place. Now, theoretically, this is a hybrid system, which was not possible before because you had a manual TDS. Someone has to put it, and irrespective of the input TDS, it is just functioning without any understanding. Now, I understand that you coming from that TDS, instead of like TDS cannot be the only criteria, vagara, vagara. But then we also have a pure UV systems in the market, which customers are buying because there's no boundary which is saying that above 500 you should buy RO or below 500 you should buy whatever it is. Now let's say you have a hybrid system which allows you have a RO system when certain value, whatever the criteria BIS puts, it satisfies it. And then you have another system within that system itself, which is basically a UV system, and which again satisfies the criteria, whatever the BIS puts for a UV system. Should we call it as a manipulation, or should we call it like, if technology is enabling something, are we trying to save something.
Okay.
So before you
Yeah, no,
answer
I'm
technically-
not answering,
No, no.
because I want people who have
No,
raised
just
this issue
one
should
second.
answer this
So,
question,
Before,
Gupta ji, I would
before-
like to,
before getting to the
Suresh, I would
one
like
second,
to.
one second. Before getting to the technicalities, technical answer, I want to clarify one thing. This technology has been in existence for more than 10 years.
Yeah.
There are patents around this technology.
Yes.
There are people sitting in this room who have done those patents. They are writers of those patents, and it's available in Indian Patent Office.
Yes.
So please clarify that.
So I do understand, because there's a difference where there is something called a.
One second.
I'll just explain a
Just
little bit.
One second. Okay. It's paucity of time. There are other people also who have to speak.
Sure.
I'm just clarifying that let's not get away with saying this,
Yeah.
that this technology did not exist. That's why this was not used.
Yeah.
It was not used in deference to the standard.
Standard. Correct. It
Not
was not used because it is the standard which is not allowing that to happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, doctor.
Yeah, I was about to tell him that first thing, he rightly said that you are new in this field, but this technology was patented in 2008 and again in 2012,
12.
Yes.
and this patent is existing patent.
Yes.
So wait, don't try to see argument.
I'll
has
not
no
argue
limits.
anything. I'll just
See,
simply
I'm
say.
only trying to tell you two statements that you are new and such hybrid systems were not available earlier. We are the one who are using it. That statement is totally wrong. You are new. That's why you
Sir,
are saying so.
The technologies are
I
always
don't
new.
want to
that
argue
I'm
further.
saying.
Okay.
There is a patent. I don't want to
thank you,
argue.
doctor.
अच्छा
Thank you
एक
so
मिनट
much.
मैं
Thank you so
थोड़ा
much.
मैं एक
One last
हाँ,
answer.
बोलो,
No. You answer the last one.
देखो दोस्त,
UV standard, RO standard. If UV is acceptable, what is not acceptable? RO. I mean, you can answer it. I can.
no, you answer now, please.
Okay.
Go ahead, Suresh.
So each standard has its own place in this, and Disha is here. Disha, she is here. She understands this very clearly. There was a need for regulating UV also. That's why there is a UV standard coming in.
Yeah.
When there is a multiplicity of technologies, how they will take, of course, BIS will take cognizance of this, how this is to be done. But right now there is a standard which says this is the RO standard. So the product is being certified for RO,
Yes.
not for UV.
UV. Correct.
So
There is a
please-
law. This is a
please-
law.
It's a law. Please comply with RO standard. Don't bring anything else in between. Completely understand the concern for the consumer, and how the other standard is also not maybe in order. So that is already being taken up. You saw there are 3-4 standards coming in, not just RO standard, UV standard, also the components. What kind of filters are being used? What kind of other components are being used? What kind of SV is being used into this? What kind of plastic material is getting used in? Everything is getting regulated. The government is very clear. This is a health and hygiene product. This cannot have any compromise in the way it is made and sold and claimed. Everything together. Right? Thank you so much. So I think
Let me close.
Yeah.
Okay, let me close this heated discussion. Okay, I think if it is a law has to be abided till the law is changed. Okay, and because it defers the creation of a non-level playing field in the industry. It is against competition. Okay, and other players who are complying to a law of the country. Okay, if you are coming up with an idea which is new, please present it to the relevant authority and let them amend the law. But you cannot just put products in the industry and just pretend to be a messiah, saying that we have come up with a Eureka technology and we are here to we can bypass law. Okay, now I'm just going to make one statement. Which standard is which this standard, at least we spent 8 months in deliberating that line. Okay, and Dr. Sridhar is here. All the government authorities, Jal Shakti Ministry, CPCB, everybody's intent was taken in that. Okay, how to challenge this bypass situation. Okay, the whole crux of spending so much time was bypass in RO standard 16240, and this line is deliberately added in this standard. The line is, if the system has a TDS control mechanism employing RO bypass blending, all testing will be done with the TDS valve in fully open position, in the parenthesis maximum flow in the bypass line. Now, whether that hindrance is created by a physical barrier or electrical barrier or software barrier or intelligent barrier or IoT or XYZ, this line and this spirit of the law has to be retained. The law is that if you want to challenge it, challenge the law. Don't put, products which are not meeting and not being able to be tested by the laboratories under competition against violating this law. This is the grievance of all the manufacturers today, and this is to BIS.
So we can take up this issue in our committee. We can deliberate on this, and if based on consensus, we can give more clarity also, as you had given in your recommendations. We can incorporate it in our standards.
Yes, please.
No need to change the standard. Only FAQ.
Standard does not need to be changed. Standard is very clear.
Only FAQ.
Make it effective. कंज्यूमर है, हाँ, यस, राइट.
अब यार जब फर्स्ट स्टैंडर्ड था कि वो टेक्नोलॉजी का राउंड था नहीं था, क्या था क्या नहीं, तो हमने उसको एक फुली वर्क इसलिए बोला कि अगर बाय द वे किसी टेक्नीशियन ने फील्ड में फुली वर्क करके छोड़ दिया और उससे वो सारे कंटामिनेंट्स पर चले गए, तो वो एक प्रॉब्लमेटिक केस है. वो उससे कंज्यूमर को ट्रूली हेल्थ कॉन्शियस वो प्रोडक्ट नहीं मिल रहा है हाइजीन से रिलेटेड. ठीक है, तो हमने ये स्टैंडर्ड बना लिया कि हाँ भाई हमने फर्स्ट लाइन उसमें ऐड कर दी, फुली ओपन करके हमें उसको टेस्ट करना है. एग्रीड. तो जो आपका फर्स्ट वाला केस था वो उसमें फेल हो जाते हैं प्रोडक्ट्स, एग्रीड है. सेकंड केस में जो अभी ये वाला प्रोडक्ट है, इस केस में सॉफ्टवेयर के थ्रू कंट्रोल हो रहा है, राइट. अब सॉफ्टवेयर के थ्रू अगर कंट्रोल हो रहा है तो केस आना चाहिए कि सॉफ्टवेयर अगर वो फेल हो जाए तो फुली ओपन हो रहा है या नहीं हो रहा. अगर सॉफ्टवेयर के अंदर मैनुअली आप ओपन करके कर रहे हो, वो इज नॉट द राइट वे.
दोस्त, ये क्राइटेरिया नहीं है. अगर मैं आपको बताता हूँ, सॉफ्टवेयर सही है, ठीक है ना, सॉलिड वाल में एक पार्टिकल फंस गया,
आपने उसको एडवांस कर दिया ना.
अरे सॉफ्टवेयर में एक पार्टिकल फंस गया, वो सबसे फेलियर पॉइंट ही आपका आरओ का सॉफ्टवेयर सॉलिड वाल्व होता है.
वो आपका है,
ठीक है. एनीवे,
वो
आप टुडे
आप सॉफ्टवेयर के थ्रू फुली क्लोज्ड ओपन है या फुली क्लोज है, वो तो आप सॉफ्टवेयर के थ्रू मैनुअली कर रहे हैं ना. फिर से वो
मैनुअली
तो
नहीं
नहीं, वो एक टेस्ट कंडीशन है, वर्स्ट केस सिनेरियो टेस्टिंग है.
या तो फुली क्लोज है सोलेनॉइड वॉल या फुली ओपन है.
ठीक है.
Excuse me.
चलो.
Sorry. Yeah, I think it's time out.
Okay.
It's not about software क्या कर रहा है. It's about whether we are doing testing as per the standard or not.